If you have lived with type 1 for more than 5 minutes, I guarantee you've heard this. Well, in 5 years, there's going to be a cure. Cool. I have been hearing that for 34 straight years, but I have never, not once, sat down with a person who used to have type 1 diabetes and now doesn't until this episode. Today, you're going to hear from someone with a wild clinical trial at the University of Chicago where transplanted islet cells plus a new drug called tegoprubart have her off insulin. Her name is Beth. She's got blood sugars that look like a fully functioning pancreas is at work, and it is wild. None of the usual scary transplant side effects are showing up so far. And we're going to talk real numbers. We're going to talk about what her surgery was like. What are the trade-offs? What did she have to sign in order to get access to this? And the real mind bender of going from this disease is forever to I'm technically cured and I'm in a clinical trial. If you have ever rolled your eyes at the word cure, this one is going to mess with you in the best way possible. My name is Neil Greathouse. Today is my 34th diaversary, and this is my gift to you. This is your best T1D year.
Welcome to your best T1D year, the podcast that's a mix of habits, a couple of laughs you need. Maybe throw in some real sciencey stuff every once in a while, and there you go. Everything you need to live with type 1 diabetes and have some wins you can feel. Let's roll the episode.
Beth, I sat in this room with you this past weekend at the Breakthrough T1D Summit in Little Rock. And as you talked, I literally felt myself staring off into space. I'm looking out the windows into the woods, trying to comprehend what you were saying about this process that you just went through. And it's like my brain short-circuited. I have never been in the room in my life with someone who was able to say what you said, that I used to have type 1 diabetes and I don't. Like, can we just start right there for a second? Because I got chills. Mm-hmm. You almost caused me to completely glitch out in that room.
Yeah.
What is it like to say that sentence out loud?
So the interesting part about that was, and we can talk a little more about this whole process in a little bit, but I'm a month out from actually having the islet cell transplant. And so the interesting part, and I'm so glad you got to be there for that on Saturday, was since I started this process and actually had the transplant and my blood sugars have been regulated, nobody has asked me the question, do you have diabetes? It hasn't come up. It's either people who know what I'm going through, people don't know anything that I'm going through, or it's medical staff that have all my paperwork, right? And so it was actually at the conference that I got asked this question for the very first time. I was sitting next to a little girl. It was before the main session started. She was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I was looking at my Dexcom, which, by the way, is like beautiful unicorn numbers all the time now, right? So I'm looking at my Dexcom, and very casually, she's like, oh, do you have type 1 diabetes too? And I opened my mouth to answer her. And I like, what do you say? That was the first time I really processed, like really mentally started thinking through how very different my life is. I've been so busy since we started this process, such an involved process. It was the first time that anybody asked me that question. And there she stood looking at me. And of course, she's 7 years old. So, I just said yes, because I couldn't say, well, buckle up, sister.
Sister, you're not ready for this.
Let me tell you. But so when you get diagnosed with type 1, it is a very dark diagnosis, because as a chronic illness, you get told from the very first moment, you'll never be well again. You will always have this. You will manage this every single day, every single night, on vacation, on your wedding day, when you're having a baby, when you're stressed at work. This will be part of your life every day until you die. And that is such a, I remember just the grief that I went through during diagnosis. there was no hope. It was just grief. And so one of the crazier parts about this whole process is actually the mental unraveling of all of those facts that I believed for all of these years that aren't true anymore.
Yeah.
That has been the wildest process. And so I love talking about it. I love answering people's questions about it, because if Neil, if you had asked me 5 years ago, do you think there's a cure coming? I would have said no. Mm-hmm. If you had asked me 3 years ago, I would have said no. There is no community that exists more, I'm convinced of this, more jaded than the type 1 diabetes community, because unlike a lot of these other diagnoses where there's a lot of research and we've been promised a cure for decades and decades and decades and decades, and promising things happen and then it goes away. And, you know, there's big research papers that comes out and then you never hear anything. And so it's been crazy just kind of unraveling all of that and getting to be a part of this thing that I never thought would happen in my lifetime. And I certainly didn't think would happen to me.
Okay. Let's pull on that thread a little bit, because you're diagnosed, what is it, 2013?
Yes.
Okay. So diagnosed at 2013, and you obviously you have lived this. I'm terrible at math, but why am I looking at my calendar?
Almost 14 years. Yeah.
Okay. So 14 years, you know, the ups and downs. You actually have lived with this long enough to be a little cynical. Like cynical and jaded are really close. When you go from cynical to jaded, you're like, blah, whatever. So you're, you know, maybe you're there, maybe you're not, but like, had it gone through your mind up until that point that I'm actually going to die still with type 1 diabetes, maybe not from it, but I will live my life with type 1 diabetes, that you genuinely are not thinking that a cure is coming, or you can't visualize it, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we have no history of type 1 in our family, none at all. And I'm one of those weirdo people. You know, it used to be called juvenile diabetes. It's not anymore, because there are so many people that are old to get it. I was 26. It was completely out of the blue. I went to the doctor. I know the day, March 13th, 2013, 3/13/13. Not a good sign, you know, should have waited to go. But, I went to the doctor thinking I had the flu, and then I came out with this diagnosis, and then came out and went straight to the hospital to be treated for DKA. Right. So it was like, went from young, single, trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life, traveling the world. There's so much freedom and possibility. I went from that to being half dead in a hospital bed, being told this is life forever. Here's how you inject yourself with insulin. You'll need to do this multiple times a day, every day for the rest of your life. For someone who's 26 years old that hasn't even figured out who she is yet.
Yeah.
I mean, so yes, that's a long answer to your question. There really was a very dark process of grief where I realized I would not ever get better, that this was every day forever. And so unwinding that has been a very healing process and a very surprising process, I think. I just never expected that it would happen.
Yeah. It's like the dream is that I'm going to throw this phrase out because I've been thinking about this since last week. Like literally my wife, I have talked to her about this every day. I had this realization because you said it earlier. You said it robs you of your hope. What your story is doing right now, it is giving us an infusion of hope. That's what's coming back into the mix. So let's talk a little bit about getting to the decision of this trial, because you obviously had to do your homework on all of this. Okay, let's talk about how this opportunity landed on your radar. What was the first breadcrumb that led you to this trial at is it U Chicago is where it was?
Yep.
I'm going to say this name, but I'm not going to get this right. Tegoprubart, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Was it an article? Was it your endocrinologist?
I found it online. I'm a big online researcher. So I'm on all the diabetes websites. And I can't, people so many times now have said, well, where did you find the information? I really don't remember. I'd had a really hard day of diabetes with a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And I was Googling stuff online, and it was a website like the Breakthrough T1D website. It may have been that website where you can actually go in and search for clinical trials. So on a whim, I'm looking for clinical trials, and it just takes me down. It had to be the Lord's intervention. God. It just took me down this rabbit hole of these trials that were going on. And there were actually 2 that I was looking at. Both of them, ironically, run under the same doctor through University of Chicago. Wow. One was the Vertex trial, and the Vertex trial is kind of the sister trial in my brain to this. The Vertex trial is taking stem cells and growing lab-grown islet cells, and we can talk later about why that's so important. Okay. And the other one was this Eledon trial, and the Eledon trial is the other piece of that component. The Eledon trial uses donor cells, so from deceased organ donors. Typically, they take the pancreases that aren't viable for whatever reason for transplant, and those are the ones they pull the islet cells from for islet cell transplants. Okay. And so it takes donor islets and you transplant those, and then the trial is testing out this, it's an anti-CD40 ligand inhibitor. Yeah. And at some point, Neil, there was a meeting at Eledon or somewhere where the doctor said, this is an anti-CD40 ligand inhibitor. We should come up with an easier name. And someone said, how about tegoprubart?
Tegoprubart.
Someone else said, so much better. Yes, love that. So somehow they landed on tegoprubart. And so the cool part about tegoprubart is, with traditional immunosuppressant medication, because islet cell transplants have been happening for a long time now, that part of the process isn't new. The downside is when you get an islet cell transplant, just like any other transplant, you have to do traditional immunosuppressant medication like tacrolimus. I'm not hating on Tacro. It has saved lives for many, many years. Right. But Tacro causes a lot of neurotoxicity. It's hard on your kidneys. And the key for islet cell transplants, it's actually toxic to those islet cells. It can damage the very cells that you're trying to protect. Right. But you have to take the medication, or you used to, because otherwise your body would reject the cells just like your original ones. So I ended up going down this rabbit hole and finding this study, and I found a place that you could apply online. So I went in and I applied, and it was like a form that I filled out. And I did it, and I think I applied for Vertex and Eledon in the same day, and ended up getting an email back saying, would you be available for a phone call? So I did this phone call with a guy from like the Netherlands, some company, and he called.
It doesn't seem shady at all.
So random.
Like, yeah, sure.
So he calls and he asks me like all of these different questions. How much insulin do you use every day? All of these things. And so he takes me through this full list of questions. And then he's like, okay, thanks. We'll let you know. And that's it. So like months go by and I don't hear anything. And then I get another phone call asking for more questions. So I go through that phone call. And then after that, I actually got connected with the group at University of Chicago. And so kind of to walk you through the very process, once I got through those first couple of things where they're weeding people out, there are different things with every trial. With this trial, this causes like major rapid glucose correction. Like I went from, my A1C was like 7 when I had the surgery, and now it's 5.8 in 4 weeks. And so it literally corrects it like overnight. And so there are things like that can make, if you have diabetic retinopathy, that rapid glucose control correction
makes it worse.
It makes it worse.
Right.
And there are several other factors that kind of come into play. But I met all the criteria. And then in May of last year, it was actually the week of my 39th birthday. I celebrated it at University of Chicago.
Hey, happy
I went
birthday.
up, and this was before I was like officially accepted into the trial. I went up, and Neil, it was the most thorough exam. I was all over that hospital. I had so much blood work done. They scanned every single organ in my entire body.
Oh, I believe it.
EKGs. I did a stress test. All of the different things to make sure, number one, creating that baseline. And then number two, making sure that, I was healthy enough for this. And after, it was literally 5 days of hospital testing. And at the end of it, I told my husband, I said, well, even if I don't get into the trial, I know that like at almost 40, I'm really healthy because we've checked everything.
We send people to space with less testing than what you got.
Correct. I mean, there are people that are doing Winter Olympics that have not been scanned as much as I have. So we did all of that. And then Dr. Rakowski, who runs the trial, called me himself a couple of weeks later. And he was like, okay, are you ready? So let me back up for 1 second, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So while I'm in there, while I was there getting all the scans done, that was my first time to really meet the team. And at that point, I wanted to do the trial because I was excited about it. I've done a ton of research on it at this point, but there was still kind of that fear factor. There was that, the jaded, nervous. So it was when I was in Chicago and actually met Dr. Rakowski and all of the team, the research team, the nurses, all of those people. That was the moment for me that it clicked. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to do. And I'll tell you why. Because for years, and people still, they comment on my post still, and they'll say, oh, they'll never cure diabetes. This is big pharma. This is a money-making thing, blah, blah, blah. And there's a part of you as a diabetic paying for insulin and CGMs and pumps that you're like, they make a fortune on me. I mean, my pharmacist put all of his kids through college because of me, right? So there's that scared part of you. When I met Dr. Rakowski and the team there, when I tell you these people, like they eat, sleep, and breathe wanting a cure. Meeting them in person, most of them either have type 1 diabetes, or they have a child with type 1 diabetes, or they've had an islet cell transplant. And so they are not there because it's a job. It's literally a mission. Dr. Rakowski is like one of the most brilliant, intense people you've ever met in your entire life. I have a secret theory. He's like a superhero. I don't think he sleeps. I don't think he eats.
He just plugs into USB-C at night. Yeah.
Yes. He just blows around the hospital, curing diabetes all day.
So he's passionate about this, obviously.
Passionate about I'm telling you, Neil, he has my Dexcom on his phone that he watches. He does that with all of his transplant patients. He'll call and say, you didn't spike at all. Did you not eat? Are you hungry? Why did you not eat? I mean, he's like, and so that really solidified my decision of I want to do it. So then when I got the call from him, and he said, let's go for the trial, I was like, let's go for the trial. So we had several other things we had to do. I ended up going in October of last year, October 2025. And you have to go on the transplant list, you have to get a drug called thymoglobulin. It's done through an IV. You have to be in the hospital. It takes 3 or 4 days. It's like a 12-hour drip, super hard on your veins. And so that by far is like the worst part of the process. And the team had said, this is the worst part of, and it wasn't horrible. It just wasn't fun.
I mean, it hurt or what? You felt wore down? What?
Thymoglobulin, yes. It makes you, it like burns, my arms were all red because it's so hard on your veins.
Okay.
And then it can make you feel like you have the flu, like somebody flips a switch and you have the flu. So like chills, fever. So we did that piece. I went on the transplant list the week of Thanksgiving in November. You have to wait a month after your thymo.
This is 2025.
So super recently. Yeah.
Okay, right.
So I got the thymo in October, and then a month later went on the transplant list. And then you live in that like waiting, right? I don't know how people waiting for like a heart or lung transplant. Every day. And every week I would wake up, we've got 4 kids. My husband and I both work. I'd look at the calendar and be like, okay, if I get the call this week, then my parents will have to take the kids to practice and your parents will have to. And so we lived our lives like that from November all the way through, which doesn't seem that long, but it was all the way through mid-January. And in early January, it's January 10th, I got a call from Dr. Rakowski. And again, this guy calls like on his cell phone. He called me like at 8:00 at night. And he's like, hey, how do you feel? Are you good? Are you healthy? How do you feel? And I was like, I feel good. And he was like, okay, good. Transplant's on, picking up your organs. I'll call you back. Click.
What?
Life changes, right? So, organs came in. There was a guy that went. I met him. I met the man.
When you
who
say
went.
organs, the islet cells, correct?
The islet cells. So actually,
but from a pancreas. I'm sorry. I'm fascinated.
I know, it's crazy. So I actually got islet cells from 2 different donors to have enough islet cells for the transplant.
Okay. All right.
So that's not always the case. That was the case for me. So I actually have 2 different sets of islet cells from 2 different donors.
Fancy.
So I know, right? And so they got that. I dropped everything, flew to Chicago. Transplant was like the easiest part of the whole process. If you've ever had a cavity filled, it's like the surgical version of that. I was awake the whole time.
They didn't knock you out.
No. I checked into the hospital. They started me on an IV drip of the tegoprubart. And then after 24 hours the next day, they rolled me down into like a radiology room. And it's University of Chicago Medical. So it's a teaching hospital. So I'm in there with the man doing the surgery. And there's like a big window with all the med students sitting there watching, right?
Yeah.
And so the way the surgery goes, this is the craziest part. This is science beyond belief. The way the surgery goes is they gave me like medicine just to make me super relaxed. I was awake and talking the whole time.
Okay.
The surgeon made it was like the end of a pencil, made a tiny incision in my abdomen, snaked a tube through my portal vein into my liver.
Yeah.
Infused all of those islet cells.
They poured them out of an IV bag.
It was from an IV bag into that, and then pulled the tube back out and then put a Band-Aid on it. That was it.
That's bananas.
Because
in our brains, we've thought it's going to be this insane process.
When you say the word transplant.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So they slap a Band-Aid on it and then send me. The whole procedure was like an hour. My life changed in an hour.
Yeah.
I went from diabetes forever to not diabetes in an hour. And then they patched me up, sent me to my room. And then I checked out of the hospital a few days later.
Okay. All right. I'm going to, there is so much, this could be a 17-hour podcast right now, and you don't have time for that. No one will listen, but I will listen to it on repeat every day. So I'm going to give people a little bit of context because I wrote some things out that I want to say, and then you can expand on all of it. Because we've started throwing around words and things in here that most of us don't really hear every day. It's common to you. It's common to me only because of what you said last Saturday. And I've been watching your videos on TikTok and Instagram. Everybody, it's Calamity. What is your handle?
Yeah, Calamity Katie Beth.
Okay, Calamity Katie Beth. Go follow her right now. Here's what I'll say. So for people who are trying to picture what this is a pilot study. And it's out of the University of Chicago. And what they do is they transplant donor islet cells. And then instead of the old school immunosuppression, they're using something called a monoclonal antibody. And that is what is called tegoprubart. Right. You may even hear us say that as the word tego because it's so much easier to say.
It will be a 17-hour podcast if we don't.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, gosh. You're right. Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah. So it blocks something called CD40L, which is what you said before, which is one of the immune system's attack this signals.
Right.
So the hope is that it will protect the new islet cells you just got out of that IV bag without trashing your kidneys or the islet cells themselves.
Right.
So the people that I have called after I listened to you last Saturday, the first thing out of their mouth, yes, but she's on immunosuppressants, right? Because that's what people think. They're like, oh, you're going to die because you sneezed. Or you're going to get a cold and it's going to put you like, that's not worth it. This is not that. This is very, very different.
Right. So this doesn't suppress, the Tego does not suppress your entire immune system. It's just a very targeted, in fact, and Roxana Hutchcraft talked about this while we were at the summit. This is kind of a sister drug to the drug that they use for kids that show the diabetes antibodies before they actually get diagnosed.
Right.
So this is the same kind of thing. And in fact, there is talks about a study about using some of these kids, trying it on these kids that have these, kind of pre-diabetic antibodies that are showing up, trying Tego on those kids to see if they can stretch. Right now, you can get about 2 or 3 years before a kid actually gets to where they need insulin. But the theory is with Tego, you could actually stretch that window a lot longer. And so there's a lot of really cool stuff. There's other studies, a lot of cool things. There's a Tego study. It's been being used. So with tacrolimus, it's really hard on your kidneys and some of your other organs. So that knocks out a whole group of people from having a treatment like this if they have kidney problems. The cool part about the Tego is it doesn't cause that. So the next phase of this trial is actually testing the Tego in people with type 1 diabetes who also have some form of kidney dysfunction. So it's a whole new world for these people that could not have ever done a traditional study like this.
Right. Yeah. It's like a cocktail. It's a mix. And that's some of what you mentioned, and we'll get into this in a little bit, of this is version 1. You know, like what we will get, iterations off of this will really open this up for so many different people. So, okay. What was the pain level like? And no, I have so many. I got 253 direct messages since when I said something last night. That's just on Instagram. I lost track on TikTok. One of the questions is like, what did you feel in your body immediately? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll ask her.
Yeah. So immediately, like post-transplant?
Yeah, like all those islet cells come into your body and they put the Band-Aid back on you. Can't believe we say that as a sentence. But was there any pain?
So no, there was none. The surgery, there was no pain during surgery. There was no pain after surgery. I went back up to my room and I tell people it felt kind of like, especially the next day, it felt like I'd done sort of a hard ab workout. Like I could tell my abdomen was just a little bit sore because they'd snake. But they offered me pain medication or Tylenol and I was like, no, my pain level was at 0. Like I did not hurt. I did not hurt. I do not have a scar. It was not a tough process. There was no like recovery time. I had to be very, careful because it almost made it harder, right? Like when you have major surgery on your leg, you hurt. And so that's a reminder not to use it. With this, for the next month, I had to remember, hey, don't lift something super heavy. Hey, maybe don't go sledding with your kids. There was a lot of stuff like that. But the cool part is the procedure itself was great. There was no pain. And the beautiful part about the Tego is it doesn't make you feel sick. So when people say like, what are the side effects? My answer is nothing. I sit there and work during my Tego infusions. And then after that, I'll pop up and go eat lunch and walk around the city and take my flight home. And they could be putting saline into my veins for all of this.
The same.
I don't feel sick.
Okay.
I don't, all of those typical things that you would worry about an infusion like that. I have none of those.
Okay. People were asking questions like, I'm sorry, I'll just say what they are. Does your skin get splotchy? Do you have headaches? Are you colder now? Like, I don't know where people are getting those things, but I guess it's just in your mind, you're receiving all these islet cells, which in our body, prior to autoimmune has shut that thing down. And now all of a sudden it's new. Like, are you all of a sudden you're like, your eyes open up and you're like, I see new colors. It wasn't like that. You're like, it was in and out of that procedure in 1 hour and little to no pain.
Right. Yes.
Golly.
Wild. Okay. So, there's zero. And I think people do think like, what they expect you to feel sick. Almost like when you say like infusion, they're thinking like chemo, like after a certain amount of hours, do you throw up? Or there's nothing. I'm telling you, there's nothing. And that's a question I get all the time. The truth is, since having the transplant and being on the Tego, I actually feel better than ever because there's no nasty side effects and my glucose is in range all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's been 13, 14 years since I've had glucose that's in range all the time. And when I say in range all the time, it's like 97, I think is my number right now, because it takes about 3 months for islet cells to mature to fully mature, like, and do blood supply and start fully functioning after transplant. So I'm only a month out. And so it takes a little while for those to mature, and you have to, we're in a phase where we're trying to protect those islet cells. And so we're trying to make sure they don't have to work extra hard controlling blood sugar. Okay. And so it's been an interesting process over the last month. They took me off basal insulin completely a week after transplant, 7 days to the day. I did not have to use any basal. And then I've just been in this kind of slow process of tapering down the amount of insulin that I use over the course of the last. So now I tell my husband, I like flirt with insulin, right? Yeah. I still take a few units of insulin, but for a meal that I used to take maybe 8 or 10 units of insulin for, I take maybe like 2 or 3 units of insulin.
Okay. And that's going to taper down.
And that'll taper down to 0.
Okay.
And the reason for that is not because my islet cells couldn't just correct my blood sugar on its own.
You're trying not to strain them.
We're trying not to strain them.
Oh, okay.
So that's the reason. Okay. So when I take my insulin, let's say I'm eating something, I will take my insulin way in advance and actually wait until my blood sugar starts dropping. And then I'll eat whatever I'm going to eat so that those islet cells don't
they never have the chance to kick in.
Yeah. There have been several times where I've not been a good patient and I don't wait long enough. And what happens when I do that is I will take my insulin, but it doesn't kick in time to catch those carbs coming in. And so then my islet cells pick those up and then it sends me low because I've got 2 things happening at the same time.
Oh, the islet cells entered the chat, but you already had the insulin in your system.
Correct. Okay. Correct. Yeah. Okay. So I just did a mixed meal tolerance test. And if you guys have never heard that, I did one back in May and then I did one last week. It's where they feed a diabetic person carbs, an exact amount of carbs, and then every 15 minutes, and then eventually every 30 minutes for the process of 4 hours, they take blood draws and they look at what is your blood sugar and they measure your C-peptide. C-peptide is a protein that your body makes when it makes insulin. Yeah. So when I did my MMTT last May, I had like 0 C-peptide. Because my body didn't make any insulin.
You weren't making any.
Okay. Yes. And so I drank the shake and then over the course of 4 hours, watched my blood sugar spike up to about 400. And then after the test was over, corrected for that. Okay. So with this one on Tuesday, and again, I'm just a month out, I already started lower, like I started in the 80s. And then I drank the shake and I watched my blood sugar spike up to like 170. And then, Neil, it just stopped and then watched those islet cells kick in. And by the end, I'm not going to cry. By the end of the test, it had leveled me back out to the 80s. And I was just I'd been sitting pretty at 81 for like the last hour of my test.
All right, I'll cry. You don't need to. I'll do it. Listen, okay, Katie Beth, there's part of this where I realized maybe I'm an idiot because I'm thinking about this from the sense of your blood sugar, as it rises, your body is now producing insulin. So it's going to stop the highs. But it hit me. This is probably when I was staring off into space when you're talking on Saturday. This is preventing the lows because now your body is signaling we're dropping low release stored glucose.
Yeah.
It's not just I don't have highs. It's I don't have lows.
Yes. Yes. And that's one thing. I had this conversation with my husband this morning. So I got up this morning and I was on my treadmill for a solid hour and I got off and I went into the bedroom and I said, babe, I just worked out I'll pull up my thing. It just stayed steady the whole time. There is so rarely. I love to work out. My kids and I, we hike, we ride bikes, we jog. I walk on the treadmill, all these different things. We're an outdoorsy athletic family. And the thing that I struggle with the most is those lows. And I have hypoglycemia unawareness. So sometimes I can tell that something's wrong. A lot of times it's not until my Dexcom starts blaring that I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Yep. Right.
And my husband has it on his phone as well. And so he'll sometimes still have to call me and be like, hey, so we're still sitting at 44 and it's been a while. What are we?
Yeah. What are we doing here? Yep.
So if I could tell you one thing that has changed my life the most, it's not just avoiding those high highs. It's not going low. Having type 1 diabetes, I tell people, is like having a newborn baby every day that never grows up, because you're up at night with it and you're thinking about it all day and you're taking care of it. I couldn't tell you the last time I went to bed and didn't have to get up and treat a low overnight, or get up in the middle of the night and I'm sitting at 170 and I have to treat that. And I don't. I sleep through the night. I sleep through the night, and I haven't slept through the night in years. And people who don't have diabetes might not understand, but like for parents watching this, or for other type 1 diabetics, like as a parent, to be able to have your kid have this procedure and just put them to bed and know that they'll sleep well all night.
Right.
Like world changing.
The low is one thing, but then your rest isn't restful. Your body is still recovering from not just the lack of sleep, but the low. And so you're probably waking up even more rested. I'm like, okay. The other thing we need to talk about here, just briefly, is you are still going to Chicago on a regular basis to get these, is it infusion, right? That's what we're calling it? Okay. An infusion of the tegoprubart. And that is a once every 21 days.
It is.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and you fly up there, you sit down. Tell us what that's like.
So you get your first Tego infusion right before you check into the hospital before your transplant. And that's when you start. You get several rounds of Tego, like 24 hours before, the day of, the day after. And then 1 week post-transplant, you get a Tego infusion. Okay. After that, for the next 3 weeks, you come up. So for me, my transplant was on Tuesday. So I had my transplant, got another Tego infusion 7 days later, and then flew home. And then I flew back the next Tuesday, and the next Tuesday, the next Tuesday.
Okay. All right. All right.
And so post-transplant, every 7 days, for a month, for 3 weeks post-transplant, you get that, you go into a Tego infusion. And they do that also for monitoring as well. Like, because this is the time when my body is in massive transition. So one of those conversations I have with Dr. Wachowski is, what's our insulin to carb ratio? Are we going high? Are we going low? He's looking at my Dexcom numbers. And so that's another reason you have to be there so often, is because this first month coming off is
there's a lot of learning going on
every day. Yeah. And so now so Tuesday was my mixed meal tolerance test. That was that final Tego infusion that's weekly. After that, I will fly up every 21 days. And here's the cool part. When you're like, oh gosh, she lives in Arkansas, she has to fly to Chicago. It's an hour and 20-minute direct flight. I do it in a day, and I work virtually. So I wake up on Tuesday mornings, and this will be every 21 days. I wake up on Tuesday morning, go to the airport, fly to Chicago, land, go to the hospital, do my hour infusion. Then you wait for another hour to do a blood draw. And then I Uber back to the airport, fly home, and I'm home for dinner with my kids by 5:30.
You're like, when you're in that chair and you've got an IV in your arm, I'm sure you have an inner monologue going on, but it's almost gotten where it's somewhat routine. You sort of know what to expect, and you're working while you're getting this. Like, it's not like you're locked down and you can't move or do anything.
No, I actually joke that I get a lot more work done on my Tuesdays, because I intentionally don't book a bunch of meetings. So Tuesday, between my two flights And then my 2 hours of being at the research center, getting my infusion done, and then waiting for my blood draw, I'm like, man, this is uninterrupted time. For the people that I work with all the time, I do, like, we schedule Teams meetings, and I'll, the nurses will come in and check my IV and I'll just,
just lock and load.
It doesn't make you feel bad. Okay. It's not a lot of work. And so I just live my life. I just do it from Chicago every 21 days.
Okay. I have a random question. And if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to, but who pays for the flights?
No, that's one of the questions I get all the time. Okay. Super happy to talk about it.
Okay.
So there's a couple of different types of clinical trials. In a fully funded trial, so like the Vertex study is a fully funded trial. In a trial like that, the trial covers everything. All of your travel expenses, you get a stipend for food. At that Vertex, I think, even pays for like a companion to come with you.
Oh, wow.
So that's a fully funded trial. The one that I am in is a partially funded trial. And so with the Eledon trial, they pay for everything that's trial specific. So all of that testing, the hospitalizations, the TEGO, all of that stuff, the trial covers completely. And then anything else that is medical, but not covered by the trial. So because I had the transplant, because I had surgery, for like 3 months after that, I'm on an antifungal and an antibiotic and an antiviral, kind of building up my immune system post-surgery. And so all of that stuff we run through insurance. And so anything else that the trial doesn't pay for or that my insurance doesn't pay for, I pay for out of pocket. Okay. And then as far as like travel expenses and things like that, that you get like a partial up to a certain amount reimbursement. So, my flight might be $400 and I might get reimbursed like $250 or $300 of that, just depending on what it is. Okay. And so in this trial, because it's partially funded, we lose money by being part of the trial, but it's so worth it. And I always tell people, like, yes, we do lose money on this, but the trial does a good job of making it reasonable, right? Like, we didn't have to mortgage the house to make this happen.
Right.
And then at the same time, I'm like, if you have diabetes is really expensive too. All of everyone listening, I mean, it's
they get it.
All of our deductibles just reset in January. We all made that painful first trip to the pharmacy, right?
Right.
And so, and that's what my husband said. He's been so great about all of this. He was like, think long term. He was like, it's expensive now, but think about what life will be like long term.
Yeah.
And think about quality of life and think about those complications that you won't ever have to deal with and how expensive those could be. And so for us, it was a family decision. But that's kind of how the trial works. So some are fully funded, some are partially funded. This one is partially funded, but it does make it where it's very, very reasonable.
Okay. That's super helpful. Okay. Before we go to break, I've got some questions here through social media. These people will riot if I don't ask some of these. Okay. One of them was, can we see your CGM line?
Oh, yeah. I'll pull it. I don't have my stuff in here with me, but yes.
Okay. All right. We'll do that after the break. We'll show it.
Yes, you can do that after the break.
Okay.
Perfect.
Because you showed that in the session that we were at the Breakthrough T1D event. And there was an audible gasp in the room. It was just like full of people living with or affected by type 1. And there was just, they're like, what in the world? Okay, here it is, everybody.
Oh, you can see my ring light. Can you see that?
Oh my gosh.
But the deal is it's like that all the time.
Every day.
Because when I showed it in the room, Roxana was like, oh, and you're sitting at 100. It's a unicorn number. And I was like, that's my everyday. Look at this. That's what it is. Since we're showing stuff for the people, for listeners. Okay, so this is my A1C.
Okay. Oh,
that was and then this has been this top one right here that starts the line. That one was transplant. Okay. And then this has been my 4 weeks after.
Stop it. Okay. Chills. Got me.
So there you go. So the people have seen the numbers. Yeah.
They have seen it. Okay. That's great. Can you tell us what was the first thing you ate afterwards? Was it like something you wanted to eat, or like, because in the first 24 hours, some of the islet cells themselves, they die.
Right.
And they actually release insulin when that happens. So you are not taking insulin. So I'm
Right.
assuming then that means you ate something. What did you eat right away that you didn't have to take insulin for?
So I was in the hospital. So bummer, because it's not like I
Oh,
could
it's the
have a big,
worst.
I know I couldn't have like a big, but I'm
Cheesy
a
bread.
breakfast food fanatic. And at the hospital, you get to order off the menu of like whatever you want. And so I had eggs, sausage, an English muffin, and 2 cups of coffee because you cannot eat before surgery. So I did not have any caffeine or coffee, and I'm a coffee girl.
Okay.
I did not have any caffeine or coffee from the Monday morning I flew out through like the Wednesday morning post surgery.
Okay.
So Wednesday morning when I woke up, I had my transplant Tuesday night. Wednesday morning when I woke up and could eat, I ordered breakfast and then I drank that coffee and it was straight from heaven. It was the best part of it.
Yeah. You earned that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question was, is this real news or is this fake news? That came up multiple times. And there are a lot of people that, and I'm like you, I've been posting about it and I get lots of messages, and I'm never mad when people when I see those jaded comments or get those messages of people that are like, I don't believe it. And I'm like, I get it. I was you 2 years ago. Because we've been told this for years and years. This is very real. And I'm not the only person out there. There's a lot of other people, and we've all kind of found each other, the people that have been through. So I'm actually patient 9 of 10 in this first cohort of people. The very first patient, Marlena, I actually met through TikTok. And it kind of put us together. And so she was the very first patient to do all of this. She loves to talk about it as well. And she's had this procedure and she's been off insulin and not been diabetic for like 17, 18 months. And she's like, I don't think about it. Like I ditched all my diabetes stuff and I lived my life. And I'm like, oh, crazy. Yeah. Okay.
But it is real. And I recognize that it's hard to believe, but it is real.
It is. People are also asking, like, is the trial still open for other people?
So the answer to that is yes and no. This first phase is closed, obviously. Of the first 10 patients, I was actually the last one to be dosed because you don't always get an order depending on the islet cell match.
Yeah.
And so I was actually the last one to be dosed out of that first cohort. There will be a next phase of the trial. And then I think kind of the way it works, the FDA will sort of say, okay, this is what we want to see in the next phase of the trial. This is what we're looking for. And that will give them a number of how many people they take in the next round, and also kind of the qualifications for the people that they're looking for. So I get that question all the time of like, where can I sign up for this? And I totally get that. That would be my reaction too.
Yeah.
All I can say is just realize that this will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so if you don't get into the next phase of the trial or meet those qualifications, there will be other parts.
It's wild too, because when you think about it, it may not be reasonable or realistic for somebody to go to Chicago every 21 days. But what will happen is the learnings from what you have done, and also thank you. Sincerely, you're paving the way. The learnings from your process, and I'm going to project here a little bit. Maybe this isn't 100% accurate, but the way this could potentially look is you don't have to go to Chicago to get it. You could get it in the city that you live, and you still go every 21 days and you just have to drive there. The next version of that could be where you go and get an injection as opposed to an infusion. And then from there, maybe this becomes a pill that you're taking. We don't know, but this will continue to get refined. We just need people like you to say, look, I'll be the first one out of the gate. Send me. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. And you're dead on kind of, I think the way that you'll see this go is we've got the medication, right? We've got the treatment. Now we'll go through that process of refining it to make it more lifestyle friendly. So does that look like there's research already that shows with some of the kidney transplants they've used Catego with, there's research that already shows that it doesn't actually have to be every 21 days. There's actually, they think, a much larger window on that, maybe even like 2 and 3 months. So that's one piece of it. And then there's also Eledon is supposed to be starting trials on, at some point, a subcutaneous version of Tego. So everybody else in America goes to their fridge once a week, shoots their Ozempic, and we diabetics go to their fridge once a week and do a Tego shot. I don't know exactly what that looks like, and there's not a timeline on it. But I do think that is kind of the path where this is headed.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in a group text with a bunch of guys that are all living with type 1. Literally, one of them said, "What's the first thing you decided to eat and test to see if this was really working? A cinnamon roll, pizza, pop-up bagel with scallions, carrot cake, or whatchamacallit? Tell us." I was like, oh, I can't ask her that.
Yep. No, you can ask me that. So the hard part is right now, I'm still not in that phase where I'm like, let's go crazy.
You're not there yet.
I'm not there yet. And Dr. Wachowski's watching me
every day. Yeah.
So, that 3-month meeting you have like every 3 or 4 months when you go to your endocrinologist and he pulls up your CGM and he's like, what did you eat to make it do that 3 weeks ago? It's that every day. Like I never know. So I'm trying to be really good. I will say this. I'm a Southern girl by heart. I spent lots of time and am still spending lots of time in Chicago. I love Chicago. It's my home away from home. You guys do not have queso in Chicago, like good Mexican food. And so when we got home, I was like, must have Mexican food. So that was my first big splurge was chips and queso. Okay. And I'll never regret it. And it was fabulous. And I did it early and Dr. Wachowski never knew that I was at home pounding chips and queso. So worth it. It was so good.
Okay. I don't know if you've thought about this before we go to break, but I know you said that he is watching every move. Do you not find it eerie that his name is very similar to Roz from, what is it, Monsters, Inc., where he's like, I'm watching you, Wazowski. You've got Wachowski. He is absolutely watching your every move.
I had not thought about that, but yes. That's
watching you. Yeah. All right, let's take a break for a minute and we'll be right back.
Keep your fingers off the bolus. This is just a short break.
So before we hit the true and false questions with Katie Beth, I want to hit pause on something. Her story is wild. Like this clinical trial, transplant level thing is mind boggling. But most of us listening, we're still out here trying to get through breakfast without 3 alarms and a rage bolus. You know what I mean? That is why Blue Circle Health exists. They proudly sponsor this podcast and they give you an entire team built specifically around redefining what your care looks like with type 1, endocrinologists, educators, coaches, people who actually know the difference between I'm fine and I'm quietly falling apart, because most of their team lives with type 1 diabetes, and it is 100% free for adults living with type 1 diabetes. They're in 20 plus states across the United States. There are no copays. There's no surprise bills. There's no insurance gymnastics. It's real. They're just real human beings helping you build a plan that will fit your real life. And you can go sign up today for free at bluecirclehealth.org. Now, let's get back to the episode.
True or false? Fast answers, clear thinking. Let's test those myths.
All right, let's do some true or false. I don't know when's the last time you did that at college, maybe, who knows, probably. But hopefully there's no PTSD with this. All right, so this will just give us a little bit of context. So true or false, before you had this surgery, this procedure, did you seriously think about backing out?
False. By the time I got the taste in my mouth for what this could really look like, you could have told me that I would be in immense pain after surgery. You could have told me there was a 50 chance that it would have worked. You could have told me I'd have to take 100 pills a day. Okay. By the time I really had the vision of and was in reach of a cure, I was sold. So there was not a moment since last May that I've thought about backing out.
You never thought about it. Okay. All right. So true or false, since the transplant, you have reached for insulin or you've counted carbs out of pure habit?
True.
Yeah. That muscle memory is real.
It's real. And I check my Dexcom still constantly. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's right now. I really only need my Dexcom for the time leading up to eating a meal and then the time right there after the meal, just to make sure I don't have like a random spike or random low, to make sure I timed everything right. Yeah. And then the rest of the time, Neil, I've already realized I've started thinking a little bit less about my Dexcom.
What?
Those in between times. After years of checking it probably every 5 minutes every time I wake up at night, and so that part of it has been a little bit crazy. I think about it already just a little bit less than I used to, but I'm also still addicted to my Dexcom and having that information. So,
well, okay, I'm going to tell on you a little bit, because at this event, your son is all the way across this room. It's a pretty large room that you're speaking in. He's on the other side of the room, sitting in the back with your husband, and he's on your phone playing games.
Right.
And you weren't looking at that Dexcom for at least an hour until somebody said, "Show us your Dexcom." And then you're like, "Okay, I'll do it." And it took a while for it to get back connected so you could hold it up. So it's like, it's there. Like that thinking is creeping in. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And that in itself, it's such a good example. That in itself is a perfect example of that pre-transplant. I would not have done that.
No.
I always had my phone with me. I always have my watch connected.
Mm-hmm.
It's always right there in the back of your mind. And then at this conference, I was like, sure, you can play Roblox. You can take it out of range, because I know that I'm not going to have a crazy spike. And I know, more importantly, more urgently, that I'm not going to have one of those unexpected
That's the
lows.
urgent one. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. True or false, you believe this type of therapy will be widely available in your lifetime?
True. And I don't think it'll be just in my lifetime. I think it'll be for us. I think our generation will have it. And I think so when we were at the summit, the Breakthrough T1D summit, I was looking around that room of kids. I'm not going to get emotional, but I was looking around that room of kids, and I realized that all those little girls in there, like, they won't have to pick out a wedding dress with pockets for their insulin pump, because they will. I can tell you right now, those kids, for sure, I believe it will happen to everyone in our generation. But I know that kids right now with diabetes won't have it by the time of it. The little boys that were in that room with us won't have a Dexcom on while they play college football. I can tell you that with certainty. And I would not have said that a few years ago. So yes, I think this will be widely available. I hope sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
But for kids that are kids with T1D right now, they will be cured in their lifetime. I am certain of that.
It's wild. I've actually had multiple people ask me since then they're like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "It's 5 years. Like, just calm down." But it's not the kind of, in 5 years, we're going to have a cure. No. It's here now. So I don't know if I did that voice, but it will be available. It's here now. You're proof of that. Like, when you say that, I trust you saying that more than anybody else I have ever talked to in my life. I went to my first, back then it was a JDRF. My dad took me. I was out of the military. My diagnosis had hit. I lost my flight status and my flying career was over. And my dad took me to a JDRF event, and I didn't want to go. I sat in the back row. My arms were folded. I was pissed. Yeah. Because I didn't want these to be my people. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be here. And I heard people, that's 34 years ago tomorrow, talking about this. And my dad leaned over to me and he goes, you can do this one day. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "This, like, you can encourage, you could help people." Like I said, I didn't want to, but that thought of a cure was so intangible. I could not wrap my head around it. For the first time since then, hearing you talk last Saturday made it real. So thank you for continuing to talk about it. It's one thing is you're not off in some witness protection program. The fact that you're out here telling your story on an ongoing basis is incredible. Couple questions, because I know people are going to ask this. You used to be on an insulin pump, and you're not
yes,
now.
I had the Omnipod.
Right. Okay.
The Omnipod.
You're on injections because you have to be careful of what your pump is giving you.
Yes. And you can they will help you. The team has like a whole system for help you figuring out how to wean down insulin. So if you're on a pump, that's not like an exclusion. I don't know that you necessarily have to switch over. Okay. I had gotten burned out wearing the pump. And so a couple of years ago, I had already switched over to doing multiple daily injections. Okay. On the one hand, it's more work. And on the other hand, there's a lot less packing and a lot less planning, and, and so I was already doing MDIs before I started the trial. Okay. So that's made it really easy. Because like when I say I stopped basal insulin a week later, like I just took that insulin pen that I had that I keep in my bathroom and just like threw that one away. right? I just don't take that anymore. I just carry one with me. I carry one with me when I travel. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing too is to give people a timeline of this. Remember, would you say it was January 15th, 13th? When was this?
I had my transplant on January 12th.
Okay, January 12th. Today, as we record this, is February 13th. Mm-hmm. For those of you who think that this is science fiction, that's a month ago. And here's where you're progressing. So it's not the last question. I'm lying to you if I tell you this is the last question. One thing that people are asking is like, did the laundry list of rules and regulations or side effects or documents of paperwork that you had to sign, did that intimidate you? I feel like you're a researcher. You're very thorough. But how much was there that you had to actually put your name on and your signature?
So there were 24 pages, and I'm a very detail-oriented person, right? Yeah. I work with a bunch of attorneys. I work at a law firm. And so a whole bunch of legal jargon, medical paperwork doesn't scare me. I'm going to comb through, like when they first sent it to me, like I combed through all 24 pages, and it's thorough. Like it's very thorough. So the cool part was it had like a calendar of 0 days from transplant. Here's what we do. Day of transplant. Here's what that looks like. Week 1, week 2, week 3. And it goes out for like, when I started this trial, when I was getting into this trial, the trial was actually only for a year. Now it's been expanded already. It's gone so well. It's been expanded to 2 years. Oh. And so, and then they'll monitor me, of course, for years after that. But so I read through this. It's 24 pages of paperwork. I read it through again. You read it through again and go over it again with your team when you actually sign up for the transplant. And of course, there's scary stuff, right? It's like the prescriptions that you take every day. If you ever actually unfold that tiny paper that comes, you're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
But it has, it had like, these are all of the possible side effects of these medications. And like I said, there's multiple that they give you kind of throughout the course of the trial. And so, here are the side effects of this, but they have the percentages, right? And so that helps you kind of walk back off the ledge, because it's like, this happened in, less than 0.5% of people. So you can really I really wrapped my mind around those numbers. I Googled all of these different medications that I'd never heard of before. And so I felt like it did a really good job of kind of prepping me for that. I won't sit here and be like, oh, I wasn't nervous at all about starting all these new meds and blah, blah, blah. There's a part of this is still, the Tego is still relatively untested. It's still relatively new. And some of these other medications that you take as part of this trial and transplant process, the side effect list is scary. And you're like, I don't think I would be that 1%, but what if I'm that breaks out in hives, or all your hair falls out, or, whatever it is. But so it is, I won't sit here and lie and say, oh, it's not scary at all to be part of a clinical trial. There are those fears of what if I'm the one. But I will say I weighed that against the fears that I have of what if I don't? Right now I'm healthy and I try to do a really good job of managing. But I don't know what tomorrow looks like with diabetes. I don't know what tomorrow looks like on this trial, but I do know what the ramifications of all of this will be. But I'm very hopeful. I do know what a life of highs and lows of diabetes can lead to. We do know what uncontrolled
it's documented. Right.
And so to me, that reading through those 24 pages, it was scary, but not as scary as the unknown was less scary than the known.
Welcome to the Diabetes Confession Booth. 60 seconds to drop some facts. No judgment, only family in here.
You ready to go into the Diabetes Confession Booth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you say you are, but it's terrifying.
I don't know. It depends on what you're wanting me to confess. No, I don't change my Lancet. It's true for all of us.
Yeah. You'd be surprised what people confess in here. So this is an airtight, soundproof container. No one will ever hear this, but in 60 seconds, if you could just get something off your chest, my question is this. What is one honest feeling about this whole experience that you haven't shared publicly yet? I
I don't feel worthy of having been chosen to be in this trial. There are people that have had diabetes longer than me. There are people that manage their diabetes better than I do. I do not feel like I am worthy, and I do not understand why the Lord chose me to get to be part of this trial. I feel blessed beyond belief. I'm grateful. But if I had to describe one secret feeling, it would be that feeling of unworthiness. So I take that and roll it into, I did get chosen for this trial.
Yes, you did.
So I'm going to do everything that I can to make it successful and to talk about it and to educate people and to inspire hope. But yes, that feeling of imposter syndrome, unworthiness, that's, and there's also this piece, I would say my second piece to that is, had a moment of realization, like when I went on the transplant list, every day you wake up like hoping you get the call. And when I finally did get the call, I realized that like the best day of my life was some other family's worst day. And that piece of the process was so incredibly humbling, realizing that some family out there had to make the hardest decision of their lives. And because of that, I got the call that changed my life, and hopefully a bunch of other lives as well.
Right.
But those two pieces, the feeling of just incredible gratefulness and humility and unworthiness all come with being part of this.
I'm going to speak on behalf of the 2 million people living with this in the United States. We're glad it's you. You didn't have to earn it. But what you're showing us through the process, this level of access to your journey, is what we all needed. We need a cure, but we need somebody to go first. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot, Neil.
The fastest 5 minutes of your life starts now. Quick questions, sharper answers, bragging rights pending. Just you versus every other guest. No pressure.
Now we're going to get super competitive. I don't know if you're competitive, but I get a feeling. Okay, this is the fastest 5 minutes of your life.
Okay.
And I have almost 40 questions prepped for you. Your goal is in 5 minutes before this timer on my phone goes off, your goal is to answer as many as possible, and you are competing with every other guest who has gone before you.
Well, I'm at a huge disadvantage because I'm such a talker, but
you're gonna have to learn quickly.
Okay.
So you'll know all of these. There's not a single question on here that you shouldn't be able to know. And the goal is you need to get to 29 to beat the current reigning champion, and that's Naomi. She is the CEO and the owner of Glow Glucose Gummies. She is currently, so if you dethrone her, that's between you two, okay?
If I dethrone her, I will post it publicly and tag her, just so you know.
Oh, that's the competitive spirit we need. Okay, Here we go. I'm hitting start right now. All right, what's the first word that comes to your mind when I say cure?
Miracle.
Number 2, you're in Chicago a lot. Deep dish pizza or just regular pizza?
Deep dish.
Number 3, what is a better feeling, ripping off CGM tape or ripping off a hospital wristband when you leave?
CGM tape.
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah. Number 4, what is the first food you ate post-transplant that felt illegal as a type 1 diabetic?
Chips and queso.
Oh, good. I love it. Okay. Number 5, what is one emoji you overuse?
The big smiley face one.
Like the big smile? Like over. Okay. All right. Got it. Number 6, what is a song that you would pick as the soundtrack to your transplant day?
I don't know the answer to that one.
All right. Did you listen to a song while you were in there? Did you listen to music?
No, it was
nothing.
I talked to the surgeon.
Okay. All right. Dead quiet. All right. Okay. That's still an answer. All right. On all these plane trips, are you getting an aisle seat, a window seat, or I don't ever want to fly again?
Aisle.
Okay. All right. Number 8, you're a coffee person. What is your order?
At home, black coffee with Splenda and some mocha coffee creamer.
Okay. Number 9, do you like a sweet breakfast or a savory breakfast?
Savory. I'm a protein in the morning girl.
You said eggs and sausage earlier. I was like, yeah, she gets it. She gets it. Me too. Number 10, texting or calling on the phone?
Texting.
Yeah, all day long. Number 11, what is the biggest ick about being in hospitals that much?
Having my feet on the dirty hospital floor.
I can't stand germs. I hate them. Number 12, what is the streaming show you're addicted to right now?
The OA on Netflix.
Ooh, it's good.
It's so good.
Oh, I haven't heard anybody say that in a while. Okay, yeah. That's a good one. Okay. One thing that you miss 0% about life with type 1 diabetes.
Going low. Waking up at night to treat a low.
Yeah.
And then having to brush my teeth at 2 a.m.
Yeah, nobody wants that. Right? Yeah, you're right. If you're good, you do that. Okay, what is one phrase about diabetes you never want to hear again?
At least it's not cancer.
Oh my gosh. I would punch somebody in the face if they said that to me. I absolutely would. Number 15, would you rather give up dessert or coffee for a year?
Dessert.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say it. All right, 16, what is the first thing you do when you walk into the transplant clinic?
Oh, say hi to all the nurses. We're besties.
Yeah.
We're
Okay,
besties.
what's the last thing you do before you leave the clinic?
High five the nurse at the desk on my way out.
Okay.
And
all
say,
right.
see you later.
Yeah, because you're going to see
will.
them later. Yep. If you could thank one person on your medical team by name right now, who is it?
I have two. You have to let me say both.
Yep,
Dr.
go.
Rakowski,
Mhm.
right? Like the genius pioneering all of this. And then my nurse Hannah as well, who is also an islet cell transplant recipient and held my hand and walked me through the process every step of the way.
Oh my gosh, Hannah, shout out to you. Okay. That's incredible. Number 19, celebrity you'd most want to explain this whole story to.
I don't know. Well, now I'm running out of time. Someone super famous that would talk about it a lot.
Who's that?
I don't know. Nick Jonas.
Yeah, he's like such a go-to every time. I know. I want somebody who's going to be real chatty with it. Yeah. Number 20, what is the last movie you cried at?
Ooh. We just rewatched Titanic every time.
No, that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it. 21, what is one habit you kept from living with type 1 diabetes, even though you don't technically need it anymore?
My answer will always be wearing my CGM. And checking it.
You said you will take this from as you pried out of my cold, dead hands.
Right.
Yeah. Number 22. What is one habit you happily abandoned the minute you were able to?
Oh, tossing my basal insulin.
Yeah. Chuck that thing. Okay.
It was such a victory, right?
That's huge. It's such a visceral moment. Like it's real, tangible. Okay.
When he looked me in the eyes and said, yeah, don't take that anymore. I was like,
what?
No need to tell me.
Peace out. Stuff. Yeah. What is the most annoying question people ask you about being cured?
I've not had any annoying questions. They're all really good questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Right.
I guess, is it real? It is real.
Okay. Yep. 20 seconds. What is the question you wish more people would ask you?
Do you think I should be part of a clinical trial?
Okay. Right now, one word you feel about the future.
Hopeful.
Okay. Chicago meal you now associate with this whole journey.
Deep dish pizza.
Okay. Better feeling, a perfect CGM line or leaving the hospital to go home?
Leaving the hospital to go home.
Okay. Last one. One word to describe the infusion day.
Incredible.
5 seconds. 30. One word to describe your first week back home.
Beautiful.
Oh, at the buzzer.
Did I do it?
30. That's 30 questions.
And I even expanded on a couple of those.
You did. I tried to slow you down. I didn't. I did not try and slow you down, not one bit. Good for you. All right. New rating champion. 30 questions in 5 minutes. Okay. That was really good. Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap this up. I'm going to do something here at the end. Like I'm literally just sliding you the microphone.
Okay.
Talk to somebody who's listening, who is exhausted. They're burned out. Maybe they're cautiously hopeful for the first time in a long time. They hear this. What do you want to say to them now that you've lived on both sides of this?
I understand how you're feeling. I understand that you're tired. And I understand that you've heard the word cure used so many times and nothing happens. This time around, I am living proof that we are on the forefront of a true cure for people with type 1 diabetes. It will happen, certainly, I believe, within my lifetime. But I believe that when I talk to my grandchildren one day, I will have to explain to them what type 1 diabetes was. I will have to explain to them, they won't know kids at school that have it. They won't have ever seen somebody with an insulin pump on. And so I can't make promises about timelines. I can't make promises about cost. I don't control any of that. But I do believe that we are the brighter days that we've been promised for years and years and years. Those are here. So hang in there. Diabetes is, my favorite phrase for diabetes is it's not a chronic illness as much as it's a lifestyle without the choice.
Right.
Because you don't always feel sick with diabetes, but it's constantly draining. It's constant work. So all I can say is on those days when you feel burned out and you think, I don't think I can wake up and do this again tomorrow, wake up and do it again tomorrow, because I really don't think that there are too many of those days left ahead.
This conversation is going to mean something to people. We talk about managing this all the time. We have with reservation even entered into conversations about a cure because we don't want to continue going down that path and told another 5 and another 10 and another whatever. So we all work our energy and our focus over on the other side of it. This is the first time in my lifetime that I've been able to have this conversation. And it would not be possible, obviously, without this incredible research. There are 10 total people that are in this trial. There's 9 others along with you.
Right.
Thank you for doing it. Thank you for being so honest about it and not gatekeepy. The last thing we would need. I'm sure they did psych evals on you before you did all this.
Yes, they did. And that they several times, like we did multiple psych evals, and the hardest, and like to make sure you're cognizant, all of the different things, just to make sure that you really understand like the process that we're getting into.
Yeah. They want to make sure you're not out there going, yeah, guys, you want some of my blood? I'll give you, like you could go weird with this thing.
For sure.
That has to be part of it. But I think one of the reasons why they did choose you is because they know that they can trust you with it. It's safe in you, and all the work and the research that they did is now in a person that they can trust. So thank you for that. Thank you for this time. I don't want to end this. I'm just being totally honest with you. I do not want to get off this.
We'll check back in and do another here after a couple months when I'm completely off insulin.
Let's do it. Can we book that now? Let's do it.
And everybody, you can gather up. So guys, send in all of your questions. Send those to Neil. He will compile a list. We'll rapid file answer this. And here's my question to the listeners. To listeners who are listening that do not have type 1 diabetes. Maybe you're a parent, or maybe you are married to someone with T1. For those listeners, my question for you is, what is it you do without type 1 diabetes? What is it you do with all of your free brain capacity and all of your extra money and the bottom drawer of your fridge?
Because we don't know.
Because we don't.
What that's like. Right.
So that's my answer. That's my question to the non-diabetic listeners. Yeah. What are you guys, when I'm not thinking about diabetes all the time, like, do I get a hobby? I don't know.
Friends. What is that like? Well, guess what, Katie Beth, you're about to find out.
I know. And I will walk you guys through that process.
Walk us through the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's the show. Follow the BDs on Instagram and the BDs on TikTok. Join the newsletter for giveaways and helpful tips. And visit yourbestt1dyear.com. You're out there doing it, stacking those wins.